Today, we're going way, way back in time. We're going to follow a trail of ghostly footprints deep into the past to unravel a mystery that's almost 500,000 years old. Let's get into it.
Okay, just let that number sink in for a second. 430,000 years. It's almost impossible to really wrap your head around that amount of time, right? The world was a completely different place, and that's exactly where our story kicks off.
You know, at the heart of all this is something so simple, so human, a footprint. But we're not talking about tracks left on a beach last summer. These are like a message in a bottle, a single, physical moment that got frozen in time for nearly 500,000 years.
All right, so let's start to unpack this thing. What did they actually find? And more importantly, why is it making scientists completely rethink everything they thought they knew about our most distant relatives?
Okay, picture this, a remote gorge, somewhere in Spain. Researchers stumble upon these ancient footprints. But what's weird is, they don't just, cut across the landscape. Nope. They lead straight to the mouth of a cave and then just disappear inside. I mean, right away you're asking, who made these and where on earth were they going?
So, the prime suspects? We call them archaic humans. Basically, our ancient relatives, species that existed long before Homo sapiens, before us even, showed up. We're talking about a time so incredibly deep that our own species hadn't even evolved yet. Wild, right?
So you gotta wonder, how did something like a footprint survive for so long? Well, it wasn't a gentle process. A massive sudden flood, a really catastrophic event, just ripped through the gorge. It completely sealed off the cave entrance, basically entombing everything inside. And in a wild twist of fate, it was the perfect act of preservation, locking those traces away for thousands and thousands of years.
But here's the thing. The real mystery isn't just that the footprints are there, it's the pattern they make. And this is where the story takes a really strange turn. So if you're picturing a simple trail of footprints, one after the other, think again. Not even close. What scientists found after carefully, meticulously uncovering them was this bizarre, tangled mess of prints. It just didn't make any sense. It wasn't someone walking or running or hunting. It was something else. And this is pretty cool. Here's how they started to piece it all together. First, they just saw the jumbled mess of prints. But then, as they started mapping everything out, what looked totally random started to look deliberate. And out of that deliberate-looking path, they actually identified a precise, repeating sequence of movements.
Okay, and here's the kicker. The best word to describe this whole sequence? It isn't walking, it's ritualistic. And that one word, man, it changes everything. It points to intention, to repetition, maybe even symbolism. These are seriously complex behaviors that we normally only associate with humans who came way, way later. So, as you can imagine, a find like this has kicked off a huge debate in the scientific community. You've basically got two totally different ways of looking at what happened here.
And it really all boils down to one question. What on earth created this deliberate-looking pattern? Was it a thinking, conscious mind, or is something else going on?
And the place itself just adds to this whole eerie vibe. Inside the cave, over all those thousands of years, wind has blown fine dust around, and it's created these shifting, almost ghost-like figures on the limestone walls. It's like this perfectly poetic, spooky backdrop for the whole mystery.
So you've got two main camps, right? Theory A is pretty mind-blowing. Some researchers are whispering about something they call a time ghost. They think this is actual evidence of abstract thought, of ritual. I mean, that would be a huge cognitive leap for our ancestors. But then you have Theory B. Other scientists are a lot more cautious. They're saying, hey, hold on. We can't rule out that natural forces, just pure chance, created a pattern that just looks deliberate to us.
But here's the thing. Whichever theory turns out to be right, the implications are just massive. This discovery forces us to take a hard look at the entire story of what it means to be human.
The stakes really couldn't be any higher. This isn't some small, minor discovery. One expert put it really bluntly. They said this one site, quote, rewrites human origins. I mean, wow.
So what does that actually mean? Well, it challenges what we thought we knew on a bunch of different levels. For one, we have to rethink our ancestors' ability for complex memory. It could completely change the maps of how and when humans migrated. And maybe the biggest one of all, it makes us question the very speed of our own evolution.
So at the end of the day, what are we looking at? They're not just marks in the mud, are they? They're like a whisper, a really profound whisper from a time so incredibly far away it's hard to even imagine. It feels like a message from a lost part of our own family, telling us that their world, it was so much more complex than we ever gave them credit for.
And that just leaves you with this one big, lingering thought, doesn't it? If one cave, in one gorge in Spain, can hold a secret this huge, just imagine how much of our own story is still out there, buried, just waiting to be discovered.